Some things call to you like they know your name before you even see them. Sam Turner felt that pull one chilly Saturday morning, wandering through the Maxwell Street Market in Chicago, but he didn't know it would change everything. Sam was 28, a guitarist who hadn't played a gig in months, scraping by in a cramped apartment with peeling paint and a fridge that hummed louder than his dreams. His dad, a radio DJ who filled their house with music, died 3 years ago, and since then, Sam's songs dried up, his girlfriend walked out, and his confidence took a nosedive. The flea market was his escape, a maze of old records, rusty tools, and dusty trinkets where he hunted for something, anything, to spark his music again. The market buzzed under a gray sky, vendors shouting, the air thick with smells of grilled hot dogs and old leather. Sam weaved through the crowd, his hands stuffed in his jacket, his boots scuffing the cracked pavement. He was about to head home, $20 left in his pocket, when he saw it. A radio old as sin, sitting on a sagging table. It was a Zenith 1940 style, all polished wood and brass knobs, its dial glowing faint green, like it was alive. Something about it stopped him cold, like it was waiting for him. Like what you see? The vendor, an old man with cloudy eyes and a voice like gravel, leaned forward, his fingers tapping the table. That one's special, chooses its listener. Sam laughed, thinking it was a sales pitch, but the man's stare didn't waver, heavy, like he knew something Sam didn't. $20, the man said, and Sam, against his better judgment, handed over his last crumpled bills. The radio was heavy, its cord frayed, but it felt right in his hands, like it belonged. Back at his apartment, Sam set the radio on his kitchen counter, next to a pile of unopened bills and a photo of his dad, smiling behind a microphone. The place was a mess. Empty beer cans, guitar picks scattered like confetti. But the radio looked out of place, too clean, too perfect. He plugged it in, half expecting it to spark or die. But the dial lit up, brighter now, and a low hum filled the room, warm, like a heartbeat. Static crackled, sharp and alive, and Sam turned the knob, hunting for a station. Nothing but noise, until a voice cut through, deep and smooth, like a late-night DJ but colder, sharper. Sam Turner, it said, you quit that gig at Reggie's last spring. Froze on stage, didn't you? Let everyone down. Sam's hand froze on the knob, his heart tripping. He hadn't told anyone about that night, not even Mike, his best friend. The voice laughed, low and slow, like it was savoring his shock. I'm the listener, it said. I know you. Sam yanked the plug, the cord snapping free, but the radio didn't stop. The dial glowed, the static hissed, and the voice kept going, softer now, like a whisper in his ear. Put your shoes outside tonight, Sam. Let's start small. He stumbled back, his breath short, his eyes darting around the empty apartment. The lights flickered just for a second, and the air turned cold, like someone had opened a window. He checked the door, the windows all locked, but the feeling stayed. Someone or something was watching. He told himself it was a trick, maybe a hack signal, a prank. His dad used to mess with radios, make them pick up weird frequencies, but this was different. Sam sat on his couch, staring at the radio, its glow cutting through the dark. Against every instinct, he grabbed his sneakers, scuffed and muddy, and set them outside his door, slamming it shut. Stupid, he muttered, locking the bolt, but his hands shook, and his dad's photo seemed to watch him, like it knew he was in over his head. The next morning, Sam opened the door, half hoping the shoes would be there, proof he'd imagined it all. They were gone. In their place was a scrap of paper, yellowed, like it had been torn from an old book. 2 words were scratched in black ink. Good job. Sam's stomach twisted. He grabbed the paper, crumpling it, and stormed back inside, his eyes on the radio. It was off, unplugged, but the dial still glowed, faint, like an eye half open. He turned it on, his fingers hesitant, and the static roared, louder than before. The listener's voice came back, calm, almost friendly. "You're a good listener, Sam," it said. "We're just getting started." Sam's throat went dry. He wanted to smash it, throw it out, but something stopped him, a pull he couldn't explain. And then, clear as day, another voice broke through. His dad's, warm but distant, like it was coming from a dream. "Be careful, Sammy," it said. "Don't let it in." Sam hit the power button, hard, and the radio went dead, the glow fading. He backed away, his heart pounding, and glanced at the corner of the room. For a split second, he saw it. A shadow, tall and thin, no face, just a shape that didn't belong. He blinked, and it was gone. But the air stayed heavy, the static's echo lingering in his ears. Sam sank onto the couch, his dad's photo staring back, and knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a radio. It was something else, and it wasn't letting go. Sam couldn't shake the chill from that night. The radio's glow burned into his mind. His dad's voice, "Be careful, Sammy," echoing like a warning he didn't understand. He'd unplugged the Zenith, shoved it under a pile of clothes in his closet. But his Chicago apartment felt different now, smaller, like the walls were listening. The crumpled note, "Good job," sat on his counter, mocking him, and every creak of the floor made him jump, expecting that shadow in the corner to come back. Sam was a mess, his eyes heavy from no sleep, his guitar untouched in its case. He wanted to believe the radio was a fluke, some weird tech glitch, but deep down he knew better. His dad used to say radios were magic, catching voices from the air, but this one wasn't catching anything, it was hunting. Sam tried to go about his day, grabbing coffee at the corner deli, but the static from that night followed him, a faint hum in his head, like the radio was still on. That evening, alone in his apartment, the air turned cold, the kind of cold that sinks into your bones. Sam was heating a frozen pizza when the radio clicked on, its dial glowing green through the closet door. Static roared, sharp and angry, and the listener's voice slid through, smooth as oil. "Sam Turner," it said, "you stole $50 from your mom's purse when you were 16. Bought weed, didn't you? Told her you lost it." Sam froze, the pizza burning in the oven, his heart slamming against his ribs. He hadn't thought about that in years, hadn't told a soul, not even Mike. "How do you know that?" Sam whispered, his voice shaking. He yanked the closet open, the radio sitting there, unplugged, its cord coiled like a snake. The listener laughed, low and slow, like it was savoring his fear. "I hear everything, Sam. Every lie, every secret. Like when you cheated on Lisa, told her it was her fault she left." Sam's stomach twisted, his ex's name cutting like a knife. The radio wasn't just a machine. It was alive, and it was digging into him, pulling out pieces he'd buried. He grabbed the radio, his hands trembling, and turned the knob, trying to shut it up. The static shifted, and his mom's voice came through, soft, hurt. "Why'd you take my money, Sammy?" Then Lisa's, sharp, accusing, "You never loved me." Sam yanked the knob off, the plastic snapping, but the voices kept coming, overlapping, a chorus of his guilt. The lights flickered, the room smelling like burnt metal, and the listener spoke again, calm, commanding. "Draw a circle on your bathroom mirror, Sam. Do it tonight." "No way," Sam said, his voice louder, trying to sound tough. He threw the radio back into the closet, slammed the door, and leaned against it, his breath ragged. But the static hummed, even through the wood, and the listener's voice was in his head now, not the radio whispering, "Do it or you'll see." Sam's hands shook as he grabbed his phone, calling Mike, his best friend, the only one who'd believe him. "Yo, something's wrong with this radio," he said, pacing. "It's talking, man, saying stuff it shouldn't know." Mike's voice crackled, like the call was breaking up. "What? Sam, you're cutting out. All I hear is static." Sam's blood ran cold. He tried to explain, but Mike cut him off, sounding spooked. "Dude, stop talking about that thing. I gotta go." The call dropped, and Sam stood there, the apartment too quiet, the air heavy, like it was pressing him down. He couldn't sleep, the listener's words looping in his mind. Around midnight, he gave in, his nerves shot, and walked to the bathroom. The mirror was fogged, like someone had been breathing on it, and his reflection looked wrong. Eyes too dark, mouth too tight. He grabbed a marker, his hand shaking, and started to draw a circle, telling himself it was nothing, just to shut the voice up. But the marker slipped, and when he looked again, the circle was there, perfect, drawn in something red, thick, like blood. Sam dropped the marker, stumbling back, his heart pounding. The radio blared from the closet, static screaming, and the listener's voice was louder, gleeful. "Good boy, Sam, but we're not done." Sam ran to the closet, ready to smash the thing, but stopped. The dial was spinning, slow, like it was searching, and the shadow was back. Tall, thin, no face, standing in the bathroom doorway, its long arms swaying. Sam's breath caught, his legs heavy, like they were stuck in mud. He blinked and the shadow was gone, but the mirror was cracked now, a single line slicing through the bloody circle. His phone buzzed, Mike's name on the screen. Sam answered, his voice hoarse. "Mike, you okay?" Mike sounded off, his words slow. "Fell down the stairs, man. Broke my arm. Weird thing is, I heard static right before it happened." Sam's blood turned to ice. The listener's voice came through the radio, soft, mocking. "Told you, Sam. Next time it's worse." Sam sank to the floor, the radio's glow cutting through the dark, his dad's photo on the counter watching him. He wanted to run, to throw the thing out, but it knew too much, saw too much. And then it spoke again, clear and cold. "Walk to the Michigan Avenue Bridge at 3 a.m. Bring the radio, Sam. Don't be late." Sam's eyes darted to the clock. 11:45 p.m. And he knew, deep down, this wasn't a game anymore. The listener wasn't just listening. It was coming for him. Sam's hands gripped the Zenith radio. It was cold and heavy, like it was pulling him toward the Michigan Avenue Bridge. The listener's command, "Walk to the bridge at 3 a.m. burned in his mind, and the memory of Mike's broken arm, the bloody circle on his mirror, made his stomach churn. He didn't want to go, but the radio knew too much, hurt too much, and Sam was starting to think it wouldn't stop until it had him. The Chicago night was freezing, the city quiet except for the hum in his head, that static that followed him everywhere now. He left his apartment at 2:30 a.m., the radio tucked under his arm, his dad's old photo stuffed in his jacket pocket for luck. The streets were empty, streetlights buzzing, fog curling off the Chicago River like ghosts rising from the water. Sam's boots echoed on the pavement, every step heavier, like the city itself was warning him to turn back. But he couldn't. Not after Mike's fall. Not after hearing his mom's voice through that thing, begging for help. The listener wasn't just a voice anymore. It was a hunter, and Sam was its prey. The Michigan Avenue Bridge loomed ahead, its steel beams glinting under dim lights, the river below dark and restless. Sam stopped at the center, the radio heavier now, its dial glowing green, cutting through the fog. He set it on the railing, his breath puffing in the air, and waited, his heart pounding. The static roared to life, sharp and jagged, and the listener's voice came through, smoother than ever, like it was standing right behind him. "Good to see you, Sam," it said. "You're learning." "Learning what?" Sam snapped, his voice shaky but loud, echoing off the bridge. "What the hell are you?" The radio hummed, the dial spinning slow, and the listener laughed, a sound like glass grinding. "I'm old, Sam. Older than this city, older than the air you breathe. I listen to souls, the ones who owe like you. You left your dad alone, didn't you? Let him die in that hospital bed, too scared to say goodbye."
Sam's chest tightened.
His dad's face flashing in his mind. Pale, hooked to machines, his last days when Sam couldn't face him. "That's not true," he said, but his voice cracked, the guilt raw, like a wound reopening. The listener kept going, its voice colder now. "You owe a debt, Sam, and I collect." The radio shook, the static shifting into screams, distant but human. like a crowd trapped inside it. Sam's hands trembled, his eyes darting to the river, where the water rippled, showing a face. Not his, but his dad's, eyes black, mouth open, whispering, "Don't listen." The listener spoke again, sharp, commanding, "Throw your dad's photo into the river, Sam. Pay the price." Sam's hand went to his pocket, the photo creased and worn, the one thing he had left of his dad. He pulled it out, his fingers shaking, and saw his dad smile, the one that used to light up their house. The river churned below, and in the reflection, he saw it. A shadow, tall and thin, no face, standing on the water, its long arms reaching up. "Do it!" the listener hissed, the radio's glow flaring, the bridge's lights flickering. Sam's throat burned, tears stinging his eyes. "No," he said, shoving the photo back in his pocket. He grabbed a stone from the bridge, cold and heavy, and threw it into the river, the splash loud in the silence. The radio screamed, a sound like metal tearing, and the bridge lights went out, plunging everything into darkness. Sam's breath caught, his hands fumbling for his phone's flashlight, but something cold grazed his neck, like fingers made of ice. He spun, seeing nothing, but the shadow was there, closer now, its shape wrong, bending where no body should. He stumbled back, the radio still screaming, and remembered his dad's voice, not the one from the radio but from years ago, teaching him to face fear. "Sing, Sammy," he'd said. "Music's stronger than anything." Sam's voice shook, but he started humming, then singing, an old blues tune his dad loved, rough and raw. The static faltered, the listener's voice breaking, like it was choking. The shadow froze, its arms twitching, and the radio's glow dimmed, just for a second. Sam kept singing, his voice louder, the song filling the night, and the bridge lights flickered back on, weaker now. The shadow sank into the river, the water swallowing it, and the radio went quiet, the dial still. Sam's legs gave out, and he sank to his knees, the photo clutched in his hand, his dad's face staring back. He'd won, maybe, but the victory felt hollow. The fog thicker, the air heavier. His phone buzzed, his mom's number on the screen. Sam answered, his voice hoarse. "Mom? You okay?" Her voice was panicked, high and sharp. "Sammy, someone's outside, banging on the door. I hear static, like a radio." Sam's blood ran cold, the listener's laugh echoing in his head. Faint but there. He grabbed the radio, it would warm now like it was alive, and ran back toward his apartment, the bridge fading into the fog behind him. The listener wasn't done. It was spreading, and Sam was running out of time. Sam's boots pounded the Chicago streets, the Zenith radio clutched tight under his arm, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat through the fog. His mom's panicked voice, "Someone's outside, Sammy," looped in his head, mixing with the listener's laugh, cold and sharp, like it was already at her door. The Michigan Avenue Bridge was behind him, but the shadow from the river, that faceless thing, felt closer now, like it was riding the wind. Sam's breath burned, his legs aching, but he didn't stop. The listener wasn't just after him anymore. It was reaching for everyone he loved. He burst into his apartment, the door slamming against the wall, the air thick with that burnt metal smell. The radio hummed, even unplugged, his dial spinning slow, mocking him. Sam dropped it on the counter, his hands shaking, and called his mom again. "Mom, you there?" Her voice was shaky, but she was okay. "It stopped, Sammy. The banging, the static, it's gone." Sam's relief was short-lived. The listener's voice cut through the radio, smooth as silk. "For now," it said, "but you're running out of time." Sam sank into a chair, his dad's photo staring back from the counter, his smile a reminder of better days. The listener knew his guilt, his secrets, and now it was playing with his family. "What do you want?" Sam asked, his voice raw, barely holding together. The radio crackled, the static twisting into whispers, dozens of voices, all calling his name. "You owe a debt," the listener said, its voice deeper now, like it was speaking from inside him. "Complete the contract, Sam. Pay with blood." The room went cold, the lights flickering, and Sam's phone lit up, showing a video call from Mike. He answered, and Mike's face was pale, his eyes wide. "Sam, it's back. That static, it's in my apartment." The screen glitched, and for a second, Sam saw it. A shadow, tall and thin, no face, standing behind Mike. The call cut out, and the listener laughed, the sound shaking the walls. "Cut your wrist, Sam. Stand before the mirror. Do it or they pay instead." Sam's heart stopped, his eyes darting to the bathroom, where the cracked mirror still held that bloody circle. A knife sat on the counter now, old and rusted, its blade glinting like it was alive. He hadn't seen it before, hadn't owned it, but there it was, waiting. Sam backed away, his hands up, like he could push the voice out of his head. "I'm not doing it," he said, his voice trembling. "You're not getting me." The radio roared, static exploding, and the apartment shook, glasses falling from the shelf, shattering on the floor. The shadow was back, standing in the doorway, its long arms stretching, fingers brushing the ceiling. Sam's legs buckled, but he caught himself, his dad's voice in his mind, stronger now. "You're tougher than this, Sammy." He grabbed the knife, not to use it, but to throw it, the blade clattering into the sink. The shadow hissed, a sound like air leaking, and the radio's glow flared, burning his eyes. Sam needed answers, something to fight back. He remembered the library, where his dad used to take him, full of old books and newspaper archives. He grabbed the radio, it was hot now, and ran out, the shadow's hiss following him. The Chicago Public Library was a few blocks away, open late for some event, and Sam slipped inside, the quiet a stark contrast to the chaos in his head. He dumped the radio on a table, its glow dimming, and started searching, his fingers flipping through microfilm, old articles about radios, hauntings, anything. He found it in a 1947 Chicago Tribune clipping, yellowed and faded, "DJ vanishes after strange broadcast." A man named Walter Crane, a radio host, disappeared after listeners reported hearing voices through his show, voices that knew their secrets. His Zenith radio, identical to Sam's, was found in his studio, unplugged but still playing. Another article from 1952 mentioned a woman who owned the same radio, found dead, her wrists cut, a circle drawn on her mirror. Sam's blood ran cold. The listener wasn't new. It was ancient, moving from owner to owner, collecting souls. The radio clicked on, the library's lights flickering, and the listener's voice was soft, almost sad. "You can't stop me, Sam. I've heard too many. Walter tried. They all tried." Sam's hands shook, but he kept reading, finding a note about Crane's last broadcast. A song, one he wrote himself, that made the voices stop, if only for a night. Sam's dad used to say music could fix anything, could reach places words couldn't. He scribbled the song's name, Midnight Blues, and ran back to his apartment, the radio under his arm, his hum louder, angrier. Inside, the apartment was a wreck. Furniture tipped over, the mirror shattered, glass crunching under his boots. The shadow stood in the corner, taller now, its arms bending backward, like it was breaking itself to fit the room. Sam's voice cracked, but he started singing Midnight Blues, rough and off-key, the words his dad taught him. The radio screamed, the static fracturing, and the shadow lunged, its cold fingers grazing his arm. Sam kept singing, louder, his voice shaking, and the shadow froze, its form flickering, like a bad signal. He collapsed, the song fading, the radio silent for the first time in days. The shadow was gone, the knife still in the sink, but Sam's relief was short. His phone buzzed, a text from his mom. "Sammy, it's back." The listener's voice whispered, not from the radio but from the air itself, soft and final. "One last task, Sam. You can't run forever." Sam's eyes fell on the knife, its blade glinting, and he knew the fight was far from over. Sam sat on the floor of his wrecked apartment, glass crunching under him, the listener's final whisper. One last task, still ringing in his ears. The Zenith radio sat silent on the counter, its glow dim but alive, like it was waiting for him to break. The knife in the sink glinted, the shadows hiss lingered in the air, and his mom's text, "It's back," burned in his mind. Sam's hands shook, his dad's photo clutched tight, its edges worn from his grip. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. The listener wanted blood, and if he didn't stop it, it would take everyone he loved. The apartment was a war zone. Shattered mirror, overturned chairs, the air thick with that metallic stink. Sam's arm stung where the shadow's fingers had grazed him, the skin red, like it was poisoned. He couldn't run, couldn't hide. The listener knew his secrets, his guilt, and now it was in his mom's house, in Mike's apartment, everywhere. But Sam had something it didn't expect. His dad's music, the song that stopped it on the bridge, Midnight Blues. If Walter Crane's song heard it in 1947, maybe Sam's could kill it. He stood, his legs shaky, and grabbed his old guitar from the corner, its strings dusty but still tuned. His dad always said music was a weapon, stronger than fear, and Sam believed him now. He pulled out his phone, opened a recording app, and started playing Midnight Blues. His voice rough, the chords raw. He added words, new ones, an apology to his dad for not being there, for running from the hospital, for every mistake he'd carried. The radio hummed, soft at first, then louder, its dial spinning, like it was fighting back. Sam plugged the guitar into a small amp, cranking the volume, and sang louder, his voice cracking but strong. The static roared, the listener's voice breaking through, sharp and angry. "Stop it, Sam!" It screamed, the walls shaking, the lights exploding in sparks. The shadow was back, taller now, its faceless head splitting, revealing a mouth, wide and black, lined with jagged teeth. Sam's heart pounded, but he kept playing, the song filling the room, drowning the static. The shadow lunged, its fingers wrapping around his arm, cold as death. But Sam didn't stop, his dad's face in his mind, urging him on. The radio's glow flared, burning white, and the dial caught fire, flames licking the wood. Sam's voice rose, the lyrics a prayer now, begging for forgiveness, for strength. The shadow screamed, a sound like 1,000 voices breaking, and its form flickered, like a TV losing signal. Sam's fingers bled on the strings, his throat raw, but he pushed through, the song a lifeline. The shadow's mouth snapped shut, its arms dissolving into smoke, and the radio's flames spread, the static fracturing into silence. Sam dropped the guitar, gasping, and grabbed a hammer from his toolbox, his hands slick with sweat. He smashed the radio, the wood splintering, each hit a release of his fear, his guilt. The pieces sparked, glowing green, and the listener's voice came through, faint, desperate. "You can't destroy me, Sam. I'm in you." Sam didn't listen. He poured lighter fluid over the wreckage, the smell sharp, and lit a match. The fire roared, consuming the radio, the flames bright, unnatural, like they were burning something alive. The shadow was gone, the apartment dark except for the fire's glow. Sam stumbled back, coughing, the heat stinging his eyes. He grabbed his dad's photo and ran outside, the fire alarm screaming as he hit the street. The Chicago night was cold, the fog thick, but the static was gone, the hum in his head quiet for the first time in days. Sam sank to the curb, the photo in his hands, his dad's smile steady, like he'd been there all along. His phone buzzed, a call from his mom. "Sammy, it's over," she said, her voice calm. The noise stopped. "You okay?" Sam nodded, tears burning his eyes. "Yeah, Mom.
I'm okay."
He hung up, the city quiet, almost normal. The fire trucks came, red lights flashing, and Sam watched his apartment burn, the radio's ashes somewhere in the wreckage. He'd won, hadn't he? The listener was gone, the shadow gone, his family safe. But as he walked away, his dad's photo in his pocket, a faint hum started, soft, like a radio tuning in. Sam froze, his breath catching, and checked his phone. The screen was blank, but the hum grew, and a voice, his dad's warm but wrong, whispered, "You did good, Sammy, but it's not over." Sam's heart sank, the fog closing in, and he knew, deep down, the listener wasn't done. Not yet. Sam stood in the quiet of his mom's suburban Chicago home, the hum from his phone. His dad's voice, wrong and cold, still buzzing in his skull. It had been a week since his apartment burned, since he smashed the Zenith radio and watched its ashes scatter in the flames. He'd thought it was over, that he'd beaten the listener, sent that faceless shadow back to wherever it came from. But the static was back, faint but sharp, like a needle in his mind, and Sam knew he'd never be free. The small guest room smelled of his mom's lavender candles, a far cry from the burnt metal stink of his old place. His dad's photo sat on the nightstand, its edges creased from being carried through hell. Sam hadn't slept much, his dreams filled with that shadow, its mouth of jagged teeth, and the listener's voice, whispering, "You can't run forever." He'd moved in with his mom to keep her safe, to rebuild, but the world felt off, like he'd brought something back with him. The radio was gone, but its weight lingered, heavy as guilt. He tried to start over, picking up his guitar, writing songs again, even landing a small gig at a local bar. But every note felt wrong, like the listener was listening, waiting. His mom noticed, her eyes soft but worried. "You're not yourself, Sammy," she said, stirring coffee in the kitchen. Sam forced a smile, but the static hummed, faint, in the back of his head, and he caught himself checking the windows, the doors, expecting that shadow to be there. Mike was okay, his arm in a cast, but he didn't talk about the static anymore, didn't want to hear about the radio. "Let it go, man," he'd said, his voice tight, like he was scared it would come back. Sam couldn't blame him. He'd spent hours at the library, digging deeper, finding more about the listener. Old articles mentioned it moving through radios, phonographs, even TVs, always hunting souls with debts, guilt, shame, secrets. A 1960s report called it the voice of the lost, claiming it never died, just waited for the next listener. Sam's hands shook as he read, knowing he was marked. He started avoiding electronics, keeping his phone off, steering clear of the TV. But the static found him anyway, in the hum of the fridge, the buzz of a streetlight, the crackle of his mom's old radio in the garage. He wrote a letter to Mike, spilling everything, the radio, the shadow, the listener's voice, but tore it up, the pieces scattered in the trash. He couldn't drag Mike back into this, couldn't risk it. One night, Sam sat in the living room, the house dark except for the glow of a single lamp. His mom was asleep, the neighborhood quiet, but the static was louder now, a pulse in his ears. He checked his phone, dead all day, but it lit up, the screen flickering. A text from an unknown number. "You didn't pay, Sam." His breath caught, his fingers fumbling to turn it off, but the screen changed, showing a video. His apartment, burning, and Sam standing in the flames, his face blank, eyes black. He dropped the phone, the glass cracking, and the static roared, filling the room. The lamp flickered, and the shadow was there, in the corner, taller than before, its arms bending backward, like it was breaking itself to fit the space. Sam's heart pounded, his dad's photo falling to the floor, the frame cracking. The listener's voice came, not from the phone but from the air, soft and final. "I'm still here, Sam, always listening." The shadow moved, slow, its faceless head tilting, and Sam saw it in the window. A second shadow, then a third, circling the house, their long fingers tapping the glass. Sam grabbed his guitar, his hands shaking, and started playing Midnight Blues, the song that hurt the listener before. His voice was hoarse, the chords rough, but the static faltered, the shadows freezing. He sang louder, pouring his guilt, his love for his dad, into every note. The shadows hissed, their forms flickering, but they didn't leave, their fingers clawing at the air. Sam's mom woke, her voice calling from upstairs. "Sammy, what's happening?" He shouted, "Stay there, Mom," and kept playing, the song a shield, but the static grew, drowning him out. He ran to the garage, the shadows following, their hisses like a storm. The old radio was there, his mom's, dusty but intact. Sam smashed it with a wrench, the plastic shattering, but the static didn't stop. A piece of the zenith was in his pocket, a splinter of what he didn't remember keeping, glowing green, warm. He threw it into the yard, lit a match and watched it burn. The flames small but fierce. The shadows screamed, fading into the fog, and the static went quiet, the night still. Sam stood there, the yard cold, his mom's arms around him, her voice trembling. "It's over, Sammy," she said. But Sam didn't believe it. He moved the next day to a new apartment, no radios, no TVs, just his guitar and his dad's photo. He played gigs, wrote songs, tried to live, but the static never left, a hum in his dreams, a buzz in the air. One night, he found a new splinter in his pocket, glowing green, and the listener's voice whispered, soft as a lullaby, "I'll always hear you, Sam." He burned the splinter, the flames hissing, and locked his door, the guitar by his side. But outside, in the Chicago fog, a shadow stood, tall and thin, his faceless head tilted, waiting. The static hummed, faint but growing, and Sam knew the listener was still out there, listening, always listening.